Alan here, M-Life Diagnostics. I'm going to teach a healthcare provider how to take a collection with the M-Life True. 5 easy steps. Step 1, know your kit. It's in a specimen bag. It has a rec form for sending to the lab. That might change depending upon which lab you use. And inside the kit are 3 components. A oral swab, a compression tube with a little funnel, and a vial that has a liquid. Should be about 1/4 inch. This is a viral deactivation RNA preservation buffer. That is your kit. Step 2, we're going to put the vial, we're going to keep it vertical so it doesn't spill. We're going to take the cap off and we're going to put it on the compression tube. It just screws right on just like that. Now you're ready to run your specimen. Step 3, we're going to run the specimen. We're going to scrub all the surfaces of the mouth and saturate. The scrub tip, this takes about 20-30 seconds, and then we're just going to put it in the mouth and saturate it with saliva. After a couple minutes, you'll notice that the lower part of the swab stem, there's a distinct color change from white to red. That's an indication that we have enough saliva. We're going to try to take it out without biting, chewing, sucking. And now we're going to run our specimen. You just simply push it in the tube. And what I like to do is just do a thumb. You'll watch the specimen run and be deposited right on top of our buffer. What I like to do then is give it a little shake, and you see you've got a nice specimen. I want to emphasize again that you watch the specimen go into the vial as you compress that swab. So there should always be a visual confirmation that you got a good collection. You want your patient to get a good result, give them a good specimen. You're watching it as it goes in. You should know that you got a good specimen. I want to redo this one step here for you. I want to emphasize one point. When we put the swab that we've run in our mouth into the compression tube, there is a funnel. It can hang on the edge. If you notice there, the swab is hung on the edge of the funnel. We want to avoid that. The swab should go into the funnel. Hopefully you can see that. It goes right into the funnel. Into the funnel before compressing. Make sure it does not hang on the edge, please. I want to come back to one other point. There have been some folks that have had medical conditions, maybe medications or dry mouth, or they're aged. The goal is to get the swab saturated. There's no set rule other than whatever it takes for them to generate the saliva. After we've done our scrub, which we've explained earlier, the goal is to generate saliva. Now, some people, if you just put it in their mouth and say, hey, please step aside, tell me when it turns red, there's a tendency to suck. You put this in your mouth, it's like a sucker. The saliva will go down and not into the sponge. One trick that we've used is if they're uncomfortable leaving it like this, have them generate saliva any way, shape, or form without the sponge in their mouth. And go in and absorb it. The goal is, again, is to generate saliva, so if it's more comfortable for them to generate the saliva with the swab outside the mouth, that's perfectly fine. If they have material in their mouth, if they happen to cough it up, that's okay. Go get it. Any way to get that saliva in the sponge, and it's perfectly fine to go generate saliva with the sponge outside the mouth and go and absorb it. But you must ensure that they know when it's in the mouth or when they're taking it out, not to bite, chew, suck, or slurp the saliva back in. There's a human tendency to do it. We want to pull it out as wet as we can. One other comment. We have noticed in the field people who their saliva was very viscous. They were very sick and they were very viscous. The normal flow made it very, very long to trip the indicator strip. Mine is, of course, tripped, but for some people it takes a while because of the viscosity of the saliva. For those people, we successfully ran them, though, by using the trick of generate it in their mouth. It's very viscous. Go in and scoop it up. This it will adhere to the sponge, and it will wring out just fine in your funnel so that the liquid material is left behind. So if they have very viscous saliva, your indicator strip may not turn. That's okay. You can still have them do the best they can, generate whatever they can and pool it up in their mouth, go in and get it, and then you'll be able to run just fine. In this regard, please note in the case of very viscous saliva or dry mouth, it may be very difficult to get the red indicator strip to turn red. It's not an absolute requirement to get a good specimen that this turn red. It gives you confidence that you've done it. But you can talk to them and know that, hey, it seems to be saturated. If it's viscous, you've gone in and done the trick to scoop it up. You can get a good specimen even if it doesn't trip red. It is a confidence indicator, but not an absolute requirement. Now that we have our specimen, we're going to just now take off the compression tube with the swab stuck in it. This just goes in the trash. We carefully put the vial cap on. So now we have it, and make sure it's snugly tightened. And now we got our specimen. Give it a little shake. Maybe that's a good idea to mix that buffer in the specimen. Then we just take our label, which you will have created for your lab procedure. It's got my name and identification information, you'll see. And we just put it on. Now you'll follow whatever your procedures are for your lab. Now I've got my vial labeled, ready to go to the lab. So now you've got your specimen. You've got a specimen bag with you filled out your rec form. You put that in. We have our vial that's tightly capped in the bag. And this is now ready to go to the lab. One other point, we mentioned that this can be disposed of. Please dispose of it in accordance with your local rules and regulations. This may be treated as a biomedical waste, and if so, please dispose of it accordingly. So if you have any questions at all, we want you to reach out to us. Here is an email, here's a phone number. Feel free to call. Any concerns, comments, questions, feedback, we welcome it. We sincerely appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Thank you from MLife.